The Eight of Swords in Joe Bandel's Oak Tarot of Love and Romance flips the script on one of the most isolating cards in traditional tarot, transforming a symbol of mental imprisonment into a sanctuary for healing through honest platonic friendship. While the classic Rider-Waite imagery shows a blindfolded woman bound and surrounded by a cage of blades, Bandel reimagines the scene as a deliberate circle of protection where 8 glowing swords create a safe harbor for 2 people to connect without the weight of romantic expectation. It's a radical departure that suggests our greatest mental breakthroughs often happen not in solitude, but within the low-pressure confines of a trusted friendship.
That shift is massive because it changes the swords from being obstacles to being a container. In the Oak Matrix system, Joe Bandel categorizes the suit of swords specifically as the realm of platonic or mental love. This isn't just about thinking, it's about how the mind communicates and structures the reality of a relationship. When you look at the artwork for this Eight of Swords, you see a man and a woman in deep, relaxed conversation. Their faces are open, their eye contact is easy, and they're surrounded by this palette of clear silvers, soft blues, and warm golds. It's an environment specifically designed for mental clarity. The swords aren't blocking them from moving. They're creating a boundary that keeps the rest of the world's noise out, so they can actually hear each other.
It strikes me as a direct challenge to the idea that romance is the ultimate peak of human connection. By placing this card in a deck explicitly about love and romance, Bandel seems to be arguing that platonic support is a structural requirement for any healthy emotional life. Why does he use 8 swords specifically for this sense of safe circle rather than, say, a traditional wall or a garden?
The number 8 often carries the energy of structure and regeneration. In many esoteric traditions, 8 is about the movement of energy back and forth, like an infinity symbol. In this card, the 8 glowing swords represent a field of shared consciousness. Because swords represent the element of air and the intellect, having 8 of them form a circle implies a complete 360-degree mental framework. It's a low-pressure environment because there's no romantic performance required. You aren't trying to win someone over or maintain a certain image to keep a partner attracted. You're just 2 minds engaging in what Bandel calls the mechanics of the soul. This mental connection allows each person to see a more realistic future because they aren't blinded by the rose-colored glasses of infatuation that he discusses in the Ace of Swords.
But isn't there a tension there? Traditionally, the Eight of Swords is a card of self-delusion. If we're talking about honest friendship, how does this card address the risk of just confirming each other's biases? 2 people in a safe circle could easily just create an echo chamber where they never have to face the harder truths outside that circle.
That's exactly why the oak tree stands outside the circle. In Bandel's work, the oak represents ancient wisdom, stability, and the objective reality that exists regardless of our temporary mental states. The fact that the tree is outside the circle of swords is a crucial detail. It suggests that while the conversation is happening in this subjective safe zone of friendship, it is still being observed or grounded by a larger, more enduring truth. The friendship isn't an escape from reality, it's a laboratory for processing it. Research in clinical psychology actually supports this. Strong platonic networks are proven to help people recover faster from mental health episodes, specifically because they provide reality testing. A trusted friend can gently challenge your distorted thinking patterns in a way a romantic partner, who might be more entangled in your ego, sometimes can't.
So the honesty in this friendship is the corrective for the traditional Eight of Swords entrapment. In the old decks, the woman is trapped because she can't see the way out, even though her bindings are loose. Bandel is saying the way out is through another person's perspective. If I'm stuck in my own head, that mental prison, the clear silver and soft blue energy of a platonic friend acts as the light that reveals the exit.
Precisely. The male and female experiences he describes for this card emphasize that. For the male experience, he notes that relaxed, meaningful talks help a man see life more clearly. Often, there's a cultural pressure for men to maintain a certain type of rugged independence, which can become its own kind of prison. This card says it's okay to drop the armor. For the female experience, it's about finding comfort in a space that feels safe and supportive. It's about low-pressure connection. In a world where every interaction can feel like it's being evaluated for its romantic or social capital, a purely mental, platonic bond is incredibly liberating. It's the moment the blindfold comes off because someone else is holding the mirror for you.
I'm interested in the choice of colors, the silvers, blues, and golds. In the other swords cards in this deck, like the Three of Swords, he uses much harsher reds and stormy grays to represent mental collisions and ego shattering. Why the shift to these warm golds in the Eight? Usually gold is associated with the sun or the suit of pentacles, physical reality and spirit.
The gold represents the spirit or the light of consciousness that begins to infuse the mind when it's no longer in conflict. Remember, Bandel's philosophy is that duality isn't a war, but a loving embrace of opposites. When two people are in sync platonically, the mental energy of the swords begins to vibrate at a higher frequency. It's no longer just cold logic, represented by the silver and blue. It becomes transformative. It's the get real moment of the deck, but without the trauma of the Three of Swords. It's the realization that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. The gold is the warmth of being seen and accepted as a human being rather than a projection.
It seems like this card is positioned as a sort of bridge in the soulmate cycle he talks about. If we move from the ace, shattering the rose-colored glasses, through the conflict of the three and the rest of the four, the eight feels like a stabilization point. It's where the work of the earlier card starts to pay off. You've survived the mental collisions, and now you have the skills to build a circle of protection with someone else.
That's a great way to put it. It's the transition from me versus you to us exploring the world. In the traditional Eight of Swords, the figure is alone. In the Oak Tarot, they are together. That change alone speaks volumes about Bandel's view of healing. Healing isn't something you do in a vacuum, it's a reciprocal process. You provide the clarity for them, they provide it for you. This creates a realistic future because it's built on a foundation of shared ideas rather than a fantasy of a savior or a soulmate who will fix everything.
Let's talk about the low pressure aspect. Why is that specific phrase so important for this card? In most tarot cards, there's a sense of high stakes, the Lovers, the Tower, death. Low pressure sounds almost mundane. Is he suggesting that the most profound healing happens in the boring, everyday conversations?
In a way, yes. High pressure often triggers the ego's defense mechanisms. If I feel like my entire romantic future depends on this one conversation, I'm going to be guarded. I'm going to perform. But in a platonic setting, the stakes are lower, which paradoxically allows for deeper honesty. You can admit to being a mess because there's no threat of losing the romantic prize. This low pressure acts like a decompression chamber. It's where the mental love of the sword suit gets to be expressed without being distorted by the emotional love of the cups or the physical love of the pentacles. It's pure connection of the minds.
It reminds me of the concept of the Anam Cara, or soul friend in Celtic tradition, a person you can be completely yourself with. But even there's an intensity. Bandel's Eight of Swords feels more like a Sunday afternoon. Gentle smiles, easy eye contact. It's the absence of drama as a form of medicine.
Exactly. The drama is what keeps the blindfold on in the traditional version of the card. Drama is a distraction. By stripping away the drama and the romantic tension, you're left with two people and the truth. That's why the faces in the artwork are so important, open, and comfortable. They aren't searching in a desperate way, they're engaged. The Eight of Swords teaches us that the mind doesn't have to be a cage. It can be a sanctuary if we invite someone else into it.
So if someone pulls this card in a reading and they're asking about their love life, the answer isn't go find a boyfriend, it's go talk to your best friend. It's suggesting that the romantic problem they're facing might actually be a mental clarity problem that a platonic connection can solve.
Exactly. It's telling you to look at your support system. Are you trying to get all your mental and emotional needs met by one person? If so, you're probably putting too much pressure on that relationship, which creates that feeling of being trapped, the classic Eight of Swords energy. This card is an invitation to diversify your love portfolio. By leaning into platonic friendship, you take the pressure off the romance, which actually gives the romance room to breathe and become more realistic.
It also seems to speak to the idea of boundaries. The swords form a circle. They don't form a line between the people. They form a perimeter around them. It's a shared boundary. Is there a danger that this safe circle becomes a way to exclude the rest of the world?
There's always that risk with any sword's energy. The mind loves to categorize and exclude. But the oak tree being outside the circle is the reminder that the rest of the world is still there. The circle is temporary. It's a sanctuary, not a permanent home. It's where you go to recharge and get clear so that when you step outside the circle, you're better equipped to handle the world. The goal isn't to live inside the Eight of Swords forever. It's to use the healing power of that friendship to create a more functional life outside of it.
It's a beautiful reinterpretation of what is usually a very stressful card. Instead of being stuck in your head, you're sharing your head with someone else. And in that sharing, the swords that were once stabbing you become the very things that protect you. It turns the swords of our intellect from weapons into architectural elements of a safe space.
That's the ultimate oak matrix move, transforming duality into harmony. The very thoughts that haunt us when we're alone become the points of connection when we share them honestly. The Eight of Swords is ultimately a card of courage. It takes a lot of courage to be that open and comfortable with another person, to let them see the mechanics of how you think without any romantic smoke and mirrors.
And the reward for that courage is a more realistic future. Not a perfect one, not a fairy tale, but one that actually works because it's based on truth. It's a reminder that sometimes the most romantic thing we can do for ourselves is to value the people who aren't trying to date us, but who are willing to just sit in the circle and talk.
It's about the gentle power of support. We often think of power as something loud and forceful, but here, power is a quiet, glowing sword and a gentle smile. It's the power to heal through the simple act of being heard and understood by a peer.
If you're feeling a bit stuck in your own thoughts today, maybe it's time to reach out to that person who just gets you. If you found this perspective on the Eight of Swords helpful, pass this episode along to a friend who could use a little mental clarity of their own.